In these sessions, I would like to introduce an interesting research topic related to adverse life experience in early life and the consequence of the experience throughout one life course, which is exposure to armed conflict and spousal abuse among Vietnamese older persons. Regarding terminology, spousal abuse or intimate partner violence characterize a physical, sexual, and emotional aggression toward current or prior partners. The mechanism linking words spousal and intimate partner violence has also been documented. The first is research suggests that words and conflict can cause physical and psychological trauma, which can increase the likelihood of developing mental health conditions such as post-traumatic stress disorders. These conditions can make it more difficult for individuals to cope with stress and regulate their emotions, which can contribute to a higher incidence of abuse within intimate relationships. The second is men with physical and mental injuries or disabilities caused by war tend to become dependents in the family, which disrupt the structure of gender roles in family relationships. Lack of male breadwinners in the families can lead to power imbalance between husband and wife, which can increase or raise the risk of intimate partner abuse. And the third is war can result in forced migration and economic instability, with creating additional strata among the veterans. Then this increased the trend of occurrence of IPV. And among the mediators of the relationship between war spousal and IPV that I mentioned above, the post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD is the most well documented. In the literature, there is a significant lack of research on IBV on men compared to the extensive research about IBV on women. The majority of research on the association between military experience, war violence exposure, and intimate partner violence focus on the possibility of being a perpetrator of abuse, while research on military exposures and being a victim of intimate partner violence is almost little concerns. Therefore, to fill the research gap, we investigate the association between early life war experience, including military participants, war violence, and malevolent condition exposure, past PTSD experience of older person, and being a victim of intimate partner violence. The second is we determine the mediator role of past PTSD related to war in the association between war experience and intimate partner violence. And finally, we investigate the differences between males and females of this relationship. For data source, this study employed data from Vietnam Health and Aging Study, which we call VHAG, in the year 2018. This is a survey on work exposure, health, and aging in Vietnam, with many sections address military service, with traumatic stress disorders and symptoms, chronic and major life event stressors, or families and social relationships. Then for this study, our sample comprised 2,321 older persons, includes 1,167 males and 1,145 females who answer questions about violence from current spouse or the most recent spouse. Regarding variable measurements, as I suggest that our dependent variables, we measure the IPV that we use two items. The first question is how often respondents' spouse criticize, insult, or talk down to them. And the second is how often their spouse threaten them with harm. Therefore, the IBV in our study can also consider IBV in the form of verbal abuse. And independent variable that we include military experience of respondents, war violence exposure, malevolent condition exposure of the respondents, post-traumatic stress disorder related to war of the respondent, and a group of characteristics of spouse, which are spouse military experience and spouse disability by war. For analytical techniques to investigate the direct and indirect effect of war exposure military experience with the verbal abuse, we use structural equation modeling, which we call SEM technique. And as a result, the path diagram of the relationship between early life war exposure and spousal abuse will be presented as follows. So you can see that war experience of the respondents will affect on PTSD related to wars of the respondent. And then past PTSD will affect on the likelihood of being victims of IBV. Then we also have a part that shows war experience of spouse or spouse disability by wars effect on being a victim of IBV in the path diagram. Results of this study show that in feature 2 in here that you can see the direct and indirect effects of early life war experience on being a victim of spousal abuse from intimate partner violence among females. And feature 3 is for males. In general, the result shows early life war exposure has both direct and indirect effects on being a victim of spousal abuse, in which female military experience directly impact reducing the likelihood of being abused. And post-traumatic stress disorders in the path diagram, which is green box, is recognized as mediating factors in structural equation modeling. In other words, exposure to war violence, malevolent condition, and the likelihood of being a victim of spousal abuse is identical for both men and women, in which past PTSD mediate the effects of war exposure, violence, and malevolent condition exposure on the likelihood of encountering verbal abuse from spouse. The more women and men are exposed to war violence and malevolent condition, the more he or she is to be verbal abused from husband or wife. To see more details about the analytics or about the analytical technique explanation or variable measurement, so please find the article in the chapter 10 of conference book. But for policy recommendation for my research, we policy makers or the government planners should address the issue of intimate partner violence, particularly for families with older persons who serve in military service, both formal or informal sectors, or those who suffer from war violence and malevolent condition in their early life. For example, the government can develop intervention programs to reduce post-traumatic stress disorder for veterans and those who expose to war violence and malevolent condition. Because from our study, PTSD is explored as the mediator in the relationship between war experience or military experience and being a victim of verbal abuse. And the second is the government can develop the community support program that connects members of the family who had negative war experience in order to reduce violence among family members. In general, throughout this research, we learned about the effect of military experience, the effects of world violent disposal on spousal abuse are one life course, which we call the adverse life experience, right? And especially these long-term effects in old age. Therefore, an intervention program or policy should be applied as my suggestion to improve the mental health and physical health in old age so leaders or those who have been exposed to war violence or endures more malevolent conditions in their own life. So thank you so much for your attention.